Hi everyone, and welcome back to this massive tutorial series on how to create a 2D side scroller in Unreal Engine 4. As you can see, today's session is going to be rather fun. We're stepping away from uh, working with the whole let's create a level part of the sessions, and we're actually going to move into more of the fun parts inside Unreal, I think, where we're going to start, as you can see in this session, we're going to change a few of the characters features that we currently got with inside Unreal. So it's all going to be about changing the properties and values of our character, because at the moment, if you've noticed, he does some crazy jumps, he runs way too fast, and we need to look at how do we control that. Reason being is because what might happen is we're going to start making things like self-controlled, for example, platforms, or we can make enemies. We can do all sorts of different things. But if he's jumping like Superman, it's something we want to sort of control as a character. So without further ado, let's get started. So as far as we got was creating the scene. We looked at in our previous video of part 2 of the tile map. It was a little bit complicated because layers do get very confusing. So I showed you a technique that I prefer by doing the individual sprites and etc. We're actually going to get away from it this time, so we're not going to do anything with tile maps this time. What we will be focusing on, however, is our 2D side scroller BP folder here. And inside there, we're going to look for blueprints, and we're actually going to open up our 2D side scroller character. So we're going to double click on him, and what we're going to do is we're going to change some attributes within our character. Now, we don't actually have to go into the viewport for this, but some people do prefer to go into the viewport. Again, it's all about preference. Remember, my videos are there just to guide you. How you approach it will definitely be your own way of how you want to do things. So what's really important to us, however, is this information here. So all these components. We've got this capture component, so we know that's the collision area. So we kind of worked that out during our tutorials. The arrow is basically just the direction he's going to start running in. I mean, this is going to be very, very valuable to us when we start making him shoot and etc. The sprite is just basically the sprite that we have of the character. We're actually going to start creating our own in a series a lot more later on. But we are actually going to make our own sprites. We're going to learn how to add the animations and all those crazy things. And if you remember in our very first tutorial, we looked at this thing called the camera boom and the side view camera component, which we were able to change a few properties in our camera angle and things to make our game look very retro. However, what we are going to look at is this character movement. Now, this is basically all the movement properties that we have in regards to the character. And we can see that here on our right-hand side that we've got, once you click on it, all these settings then change for our character. And as you can see, we got some crazy things. So we've got character movements, so these general settings. So we might have a look at some of these. Is walking, information, jumping and falling, swimming, flying, custom movements if we have any, some physical interaction. So we are going to look at force, so we can actually make our characters into like Star Wars characters. So we can push things and do some crazy stuff. And there's loads and loads of properties when you start, going deeper and deeper into the different character movement properties that we do have. But really what we want to look at is we can look at the general movement, but we can actually look here at, for example, the walking movement. And as you already know, if we just play the game, our character is really fast. So if I just hold down the D key to run, it does get really quick, especially when I jump. It's very, very fast, and it is quite difficult to control. We can actually change this. We can actually change the max walk speed. So let's just change this maybe to 300, for example, and let's test. So you can see that it is slowly getting a little bit better. You can see now I'm not just going to fly across the screen when I walk and jump. I can actually sort of control that now with the jumping control of the character. So you can see he's actually jumping there. There are some other things we can look at. For example, friction. This is going to be I don't want to reveal anything just yet, but we are going to make things like sticky ground, so we can make grounds that are. So, for example, if you walk over it, your character walks a little bit slower and things like that. But for now, we'll just leave them at 3, which is normal friction in physics, that is. We can change things like max walk speed if he's crouched. Currently, the sprite doesn't crouch, so there's definitely no need to change that. And we don't really need to know anything else about these just yet. I mean, this is important, this max step height. This is basically saying how high can the sprite be before it can step up. As you remembered in our last tutorial, we had that pumpkin. And that pumpkin is 35 by 35, and currently he's set to 45. So he could actually step over that pumpkin. If you don't want him to have such a big leap, we could actually drop that to, I don't know, something a little bit more relevant towards the character. So let's just change that to 20, just in case we start putting other things into our scene. We can change that later if needs be. We've got this thing can walk off ledges, which he does do because we've got all our collision. But I want to bring you down here to the jumping and falling properties down here. And we can, again, change properties that we have with our character. So the first thing we want to approach is this jump velocity, because he's currently like Superman and he can jump extremely high, but we want to control that. We don't want to keep jumping so high. So if I had to change that to 200, okay, so 200 for an example, compile and save, Alt-P. If I jump, you can see he's not, I mean, it's like he's stuck to the ground now. There's no point of having a very sharp jump like that, unless you wanted it to be for specific parts inside the game. So what I tend to find is that round about between 500 and 750 is a very nice sort of jump velocity. So you can see that's 500, and that's I think personally, that's a very nice velocity that we have for the character to jump in. So you can see I've got more control with my game or my platformer if I start changing a few properties with the character itself. So my recommendation would be to change the jump velocity to 500. But we can also change his air control. We can change his air control boost multiplier. And if we just make this a little bit bigger so you can see, we can change the air control boost velocity threshold. Now basically all these is basically, you know, when you jump, you can set it to how much control you have in the air. So for example, if I was playing the game now, when I jump and press A, you can see I can quite easily move there. If I press jump, oh, I haven't really got much space. I should really remove that roof, to be honest, not the roof, the top of this. But you can see I can control that. So if I jump and then I want to pull back, so if I make a mistake and I want to go A and then D, you can see it's very sticky. So we can change how much control we want to have inside the movement. Now this only works of a value of 0 and 1. We can't go anything higher than that. 0.8 seems to be okay. I don't really change that at all, unless I have an item in the game that will give him superpowers. They can control himself really well. I'll then change that to 1, which basically gives you full control in the air. Then we got obviously the boost multiplier, and basically this just gives the boost whilst you're in the air. And then obviously we've got the velocity, which is, if you understand physics, it's the magnitude of the area that you're working with. But we aren't really going to change any of these because they're not really, I mean, when we start making items and stuff, we'll change them separately with variables and etc. Okay, and that's pretty much it in regards to what we're going to change in regards to the character. So we just want to make them a little bit more easier to use in our game because, as I say, we're going to start adding some platforms. We're going to start adding some other characters in the game and enemies and obstacles and etc. But we don't want them to avoid those obstacles. So again, thank you very much. It was glad taking you for another lesson in regards to the 2D side scroller. Don't really panic too much about us using the mannequin. We will change that in future tutorials to come. But for now, we're just going to stick with them, and we're going to use them so you can understand the basic properties of changing features inside the character. Again, thank you very much. My name is Wayne. It was nice taking you for this session, and I hope to see you in our next episode. Thank you very much. Bye.